Hi guys, it's Amy-Leigh here for Professional Photo Magazine, and today we're going to be looking at DxO's PureRAW 5. If you're new to PureRAW is basically software that is going to give you the very best start from your RAW files and images. So it is a piece of software that's basically going to apply denoising, demosaicing, sharpening, and a few other elements just to make sure that your RAW file is showing in the very best way that it can. So when we're in PureRAW, this is the first module that appears. It is the Lightbox module, and this is where we're going to add images to PureRAW. So we've got the add images button in the top right, and here we've got a few filtering options for different preferences of viewing. So we've got a grid view or a mosaic view, and obviously here your images will show. Down in the bottom right hand corner, we've got two options here. We've got an option which is process with preview. So that is going to give us a live view showing the kind of before processing and after processing side by side. And then we've got another button which is just a process button. That is if you're fully confident with what PureRAW is doing to your images, you could pretty much just skip the preview option and hit the process button. So let's have a look at it in action. I am going to select an image and hit the process with preview button because we do want to look at a side-by-side comparison. And when we hit the process with preview, we are then taken to the second module in PureRAW, which is this box. And what we've got is, we can see on the left-hand side, we've got the original RAW, we've got the processed version on the right. And on the right-hand side, we've got a few different options, which I'll dive into in a short while. But let's have a look at actually how it's performing on this image. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it just a little bit clearer. And as you can see on the left hand side with the original RAW, it is quite noisy. We've got quite a lot of colour noise in there as well. It's a little bit soft. And then on the right hand side, this is the processed version. So how PureRAW has processed the image and given us a better starting point with a lot less noise. It's pretty much got rid of all that kind of colour noise there. It's very effective in terms of how it's done that. So that is then the processed version, and that would be a great starting point for any kind of editing journey. That is the whole point of PureRAW. I've been an avid fan of PureRAW since its launch, and it is something that I actively recommend to photographers. Any photographer that wants the best starting point for the editing journey. Any photographer as well that perhaps shoots in low light environments where you do have to push the ISO and therefore have visible noise in your images, this is a great bit of software to have in your kit. And you can use it in a few different ways as well. So you can import all of your RAWs and process them all ahead of your editing. So you could do that process before you perhaps take all of those RAWs into Lightroom, or you can use this as a plugin with software like Lightroom or Photoshop. You could, as soon as you install PureRAW, it is automatically installing those plugins. So if you just wanted to apply this on selected images in Lightroom, you would right click and then process in PureRAW. That way you can just select specific images to go through it. But if you wanted to apply it to all, you would use a Lightbox, bring in all of your RAW files into RAW and then hit the process button. The beauty of PureRAW at 5 and where we're up to now with the software is that we do have options to put our personal preferences in here. So with these sliders here, we've got the luminance slider, we've got the force details slider. This is where we can change how much it's actually applying. So the luminance slider is going to, that's basically your denoise slider. So as I've lowered that now, we can see a little bit of visible noise coming back in on the right hand process side of it. The force details slider, the best way I can describe this one is it's probably more your sharpening side of things. So again, you can change that to your personal preference. It might be that certain images don't necessarily, you don't necessarily want to apply so much denoising or sharpening. Maybe you want to retain a little bit of detail in there. This is where you've got full control over that. Underneath here as well, you've got options to untick things like vignetting. So if you want to actually retain the natural vignette of the lens, we can get rid of that and not apply any vignette correction on there. We've got chromatic aberration as well. Again, if you don't want to apply that, you can untick it. If you want to retain lens distortion, you can untick that as well. So there's a lot of customization options on here. And one of the best things about PureRAW 5 is when we do apply our preferences on the right hand side, depending on what the image is or perhaps what kit we've shot, then we can actually save it as a preset. So we don't need to keep adding in those preferences on repeat each time we are processing our RAWs. So that's a great addition to PureRAW 5. Massive fan of that one. We can also see here on the right hand side, we've got a few different options of processing. So Deep Prime 3 is the newest, most optimum quality processing of the RAWs, and it's selecting that one by default. But under here we've got two more options, and the last option there is where PureRAW 5 is finally supporting X-trans sensors. So Fujifilm shooters are now fully supported in PureRAW, which is another great benefit. So as we've seen on this image, it does a brilliant job. But I just want to show you another feature of PureRAW 5, which is a new addition, and we do have masking tools now. So I'm going to select this image, and we've got the processing coming up, and okay, I've already processed this image when I was testing it, doing the review, so it's not giving me the options there. I'm going to go back and let's select one of these images. This is actually one of the DxO raw samples. You can actually download a few raw samples on the DxO website alongside getting the trial, because there is a free trial on there, which I hugely recommend. And then, yeah, you can have a look there and see what it is giving. Just 1 second. So process with preview. So let's have a look at this image. I wanted to select a different image. So as you can see, well, let's zoom in a little bit so we can see a bit more detail there. So as I explained before, it does automatically add the processing on there, so you are able to visibly see it in this sort of before and after on the left and right slider. As you can see, it slightly shifts because it is adding that kind of distortion correction as well, and all of the kind of denoising as well. So I'm going to put it to there. And here we can definitely see again, it's that kind of colour noise that's definitely visible in skin tone there, and especially in the groom's sort of suit and shadow detail. So that is the before. If we slide across and see what the processed version is, all of that colour noise is pretty much removed, which is again, it's so good at doing this. If anybody has maybe shot something in the past where you've looked at the raw files and you've not been happy with the quality of them, maybe they're a little bit too noisy and you feel like they're maybe just not usable at all, I can almost guarantee you PureRAW will be the software that makes those files usable. I've said it from the launch of PureRAW. It's brought back some of my files that I thought were completely goners. So yeah, it's amazing. Now, what I wanted to show you is a new tool that's been added in PureRAW, and that is this local adjustment masks. So we can click that and we can apply a mask wherever we want it. And in that mask, we can add a different level of luminance and force details, basically apply either more of the processing. I'm going to click show mask there whilst I'm kind of doing it. So yeah, we can isolate part of the image and just apply processing to that bit if we wanted, or apply a different version of settings to that bit, whatever that bit of the image needs. And it's super easy to do. Of course, because we're talking about denoising and sharpening perhaps, then we don't necessarily need to be too refined about what we're doing with this mask, but there are options up here to refine the brush size, the feathering, the flow, so you can get a bit more of a perfect version of events than what I've done on there. But yeah, again, we've applied the mask and we can adjust these settings for that selection if we needed to. And we can apply multiple masks. So you could have a mask here doing one set of settings and a different set of settings over here. Obviously for this image, it's not actually necessary, but I just wanted to highlight that that is a new feature in PureRAW, which is really welcomed. It makes complete sense. You know, perhaps you've got an image that's got a lot of softness and bokeh in there that really works, and maybe you want to retain that vibe. Maybe it's giving like a nice dreamy vibe to the image and we don't necessarily want to sharpen all of the image. Maybe you enjoy a little bit of noise in certain areas of the image, but not so much others. This is where these masking and local adjustment tools really come into play, because I remember when PureRAW was launched, again, I've said it before, but I was a massive fan of it. But the one thing that I really wanted was the ability to have greater control, to make choices like that where we can retain softness and noise if we want that, or we can apply it to certain parts of the image. And now we have all of that in the latest versions. PureRAW 5 is stellar. I think it's an absolute necessity in any professional photographer's workflow. It will basically supercharge and maximize your kit and give you the very, very best starting point. It potentially will even make your editing journey easier, because one of the things that is an issue for a lot of people in editing is if we do have images that are super noisy in editing, you know, it's really difficult to get a really nice skin tone if that is present on an image. But using this software and getting rid of that initially is also going to help that editing side. So I've just pulled up this image. I don't want the masking tool for this one. I just want to look at this. This is one of the demo RAWs that's available on DxO's website again, and this really highlights just how well it does the job. So on the left is the original RAW, as I explained before, and if we slide across to the right, I mean, just look at the amount of noise it is getting rid of and giving us a much more refined RAW to have as our starting point. It is unbelievable how it does that. There are other sort of denoising tools available on the market, but nothing does the job as well as PureRAW as far as I'm concerned, because it's considering lots of other elements as well. It is not just tackling that noise. So it is simultaneously reducing or removing completely noise, but it's also doing things like demosaicing, distortion correction, vignetting, chromatic aberration, everything that we can see here, all simultaneously. And that is what separates PureRAW to every other bit of software. It is amazing. It's fully recommended by myself. I hope the live demo and little video that I've just done showcasing just how good it is was helpful. Like I say, on the DxO website, there is a free trial, and would highly recommend for you to download that free trial and stick some of your RAWs through it and just see what it does and what it gives you as a starting point. But yeah, that's it from me. Thanks again, DxO, for another amazing bit of software that is super helpful to photographers. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.